Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let me ask you something before we begin. How many times have you explained yourself today? Not just talked, but explained. Justified. Defended. Tried to make someone understand your choices, your silence, your dreams, your pain. Maybe it was to a friend. Maybe family. Maybe someone who barely listens but still demands answers. This story is for you. There was a time in my life when I believed that if people misunderstood me, it was my responsibility to fix that. If someone was upset, I felt guilty. If someone questioned my choices, I felt small. If someone doubted me, I panicked and rushed to explain myself, again and again, like my worth depended on their approval. I was tired, but I didn't know why. I was exhausted, but I thought it was just life. I didn't realize that most of my energy wasn't being spent on work, or growth, or dreams. It was being spent on explaining myself to people who never really wanted to understand me in the first place. Every decision came with a speech. Every boundary came with an apology. Every silence came with fear. If I didn't reply immediately, I felt anxious. If I said no, I felt cruel. If I chose myself, I felt selfish. So I explained. And explained. And explained some more. Until one day, something happened that changed everything. There was a small moment. Not dramatic. No shouting. No tears. Just a simple conversation that quietly broke something inside me. I was talking to someone I cared about, sharing a decision I had made for my own well-being. I explained my reasons carefully, calmly, honestly. I spoke for a long time, choosing my words with care, making sure I didn't hurt them, making sure I sounded reasonable. When I finished, there was silence. Then they said, "I still don't agree. I think you're wrong." That was it. All that effort. All that emotional labor. All that explaining. And in that moment, I realized something painful but powerful. They didn't want clarity. They wanted control. And suddenly, a question hit me like a wave. Why am I explaining myself to someone who has already decided not to understand me? That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying every conversation from my past. Every time I had over-explained. Every time I had defended myself like I was on trial. Every time I had felt the need to prove that my feelings were valid, that my choices were logical, that my boundaries were fair. And I saw a pattern. The people who truly cared about me never asked for long explanations. The people who respected me didn't demand justification. The people who loved me listened, even when they disagreed. But the people who drained me? They always wanted more. More reasons. More apologies. More access. No explanation was ever enough for them. That's when I understood a truth that changed my life forever. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Not for your silence. Not for your growth. Not for your healing. The moment I stopped explaining myself, something strange happened. People reacted differently. Some got angry. Some got confused. Some tried harder to push my buttons. And that reaction alone told me everything I needed to know. Because when you stop explaining, you remove the invitation for debate. You remove the power struggle. You remove the idea that your life is open for public approval. At first, it was uncomfortable. Saying less felt wrong. Holding my ground felt scary. I worried people would think I was rude, cold, distant, arrogant. And some of them did. But here's the thing I learned the hard way. People who benefit from your explanations will be upset when you stop giving them. Because your explanations were never about understanding. They were about access. Access to your time. Access to your emotions. Access to your energy. When you explain yourself too much, you teach people that your boundaries are negotiable. You teach them that if they push hard enough, you'll bend. That if they question you long enough, you'll cave. I used to think being kind meant being available. I used to think being mature meant being agreeable. I used to think being a good person meant never disappointing anyone. I was wrong. Being kind also means being honest. Being mature means knowing when to stay silent. Being strong means choosing peace over being liked. One of the hardest lessons I learned was this. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Your reasons are sacred. Your healing is private. Your journey is personal. You don't need to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Once I stopped explaining, my words became fewer but heavier. I stopped arguing. I stopped defending. I stopped trying to win approval. And slowly, I felt lighter. I had more energy. More clarity. More peace. I noticed that when I said, "This is what I've decided," and stayed quiet, the room changed. Some people respected it instantly. Others didn't. And that difference showed me who truly belonged in my life. Because respect doesn't require a speech. Think about it. When someone values you, they don't interrogate your boundaries. When someone respects you, they don't demand explanations for your no. When someone cares, they don't make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. The truth is, explaining yourself too much is often a sign of self-doubt, not politeness. It's the fear that if you don't justify your choices, you'll be rejected. But rejection from the wrong people is protection. The day I truly changed was the day I understood this sentence deeply. Silence is a complete response. You don't have to reply immediately. You don't have to explain why you're tired. You don't have to justify why you've changed. Growth often looks like distance to people who benefited from your old version. And that's okay. You are allowed to outgrow rooms that once felt like home. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos. You are allowed to stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. When you stop explaining yourself, you start listening to yourself. You hear your own voice more clearly. You trust your intuition more deeply. You stop asking for permission to be who you are. This doesn't mean becoming cold or rude. It means being selective. Calm. Grounded. It means responding instead of reacting. It means choosing dignity over drama. There will always be people who misunderstand you. That's part of life. But constantly explaining yourself won't fix that. Some people only understand you when they lose access to you. And some never understand at all. And that's not your failure. The most peaceful people you know aren't peaceful because life is easy. They're peaceful because they stopped explaining themselves to everyone. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. And they don't need applause to keep going. So if you're tired, if you feel drained after conversations, if you replay dialogues in your head, wishing you had said things differently, ask yourself this. Did I really need to explain myself? Or was I just afraid of being misunderstood? Because being misunderstood is uncomfortable, but betraying yourself is unbearable. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to justify your distance. You don't need to defend your healing. Let your actions speak. Let your silence protect you. Let your peace be your answer. And one day, you'll look back and realize the moment you stopped explaining yourself was the moment you finally started living for yourself. If this story resonated with you, take a deep breath right now. You're not alone. And you're not wrong for wanting peace. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware, and remember, not everything needs an explanation.